Hey guys, we are back with What If Naruto Was Desire of a Young Boy and Became Rude movie. As the dark sky of the midnight time got filled with beautiful lights of fireworks and stars, the people of Konoha cheered and cried in happiness, as today was just not a normal average day, but a day of celebration. Today was the day their late fourth Hokage defeated the monster known as the Kyuubi no Yakai, a beast which took the lives of so many loved ones on the fateful day. Oh, we're happy, well, expect one. A blonde-haired boy with bright blue eyes looked bitterly at the people below the building he was on with anger. To him, this was the day he was forced to live in, the day Kami forced him to live and suffer in the hands of this evil motherfuckers. This people did anything to make sure his life on earth was a living hell. All because he was the one holding the beast which fucked up their lives. Well, you might ask, how the hell did he know he was the holder of this nine-tailed bastard? It's simple really, it was not really a secret that people who had the tailed beast sealed in them existed outside Konoha walls, and add to the fact that the old generation called him Demon Fox every time they saw him, it was not hard to put the pieces together and find the answer. The whiskers were also a dead giveaway. Well, I guess I better be heading home before they start getting crazy, he thought as he dropped down the building and started to make his way home. He was already done with his regular training, even though he knew that it didn't help him much anymore. There was only so little he could train with, and as a result, there was not much to build on. The school teachers were also not really helpful. As a result, he was the dead last of the class. He was really hoping he could get a good to honest ninja to help him with his training, but hey, a boy could dream, right? Strolling slowly on the path to his house, he came across a mob of drunk civilians and some ninjas blocking his way home. Well guys, look what the fox dragged in, one of the ninjas said with a bottle of sake in his hands. Must be our lucky day today, must be Kami himself who created this fate for us to face the demon here. Lads, why don't we do the Lord's work and banish this demon to hell while it's weak, one of the people amongst the mob shouted. This seemed to fire up the mob with evil intent. Naruto didn't seem to share the same enthusiasm as he started to look around for a quick exit. He could try to make it for the woods, but he was sure he won't make it out alive from the wild animals and the mob. When they do find him eventually, the safest thing to do was to get the Hokage here to save his ass, but that was not likely to happen. Hear that, boys? Let's do the Lord's work, the drunk ninja shouted as he threw the bottle of sake at Naruto, which then broke as he blocked it with his arms. The only thing I can do is create chaos to force the Hokage to come here, he thought as he looked around for any agent of chaos. If he was going to force the Hokage or any sane ninjas to come and help him, he needed to create a huge explosion, and if he was lucky, the explosion might get the mob too. But the only thing that could offer that with his lack of jutsu was good old cooking gas, which was available at the little pub, the same pub the mob bought their drinks from. So boy, ready to pay for all the shit you did us, the mob said with bloodthirst as they approached him slowly like a pack of hungry wolves. I will have to see if I have free time for that, though you might ask the Hokage to squeeze you in my tight schedule, he replied as he pointed at a random direction, making the mob look at the direction thinking the Hokage had arrived. Taking a few minutes to realize that the Hokage was not there and the boy tricked them, they wiped their head back with venom to find the boy not on his previous spot. He was escaping, making his way to the pub. You little bastard. Get him. The mob shouted as they tried to capture Naruto. With no slow of pace, Naruto made his way around the pub and found a gas tank behind the wall. He then took out his kunai and slowly created a small hole which started to leak gas. Good, now all it needs is a spark. He took a few steps back from the blast radius. There. The mob shouted as they finally made their way around the pub. Nowhere to run, little shit, I'm going to enjoy this. They approached him again. Well, I guess it's a good day to die hard. He took out his kunai. Ignore my last words, they sounded a little cooler in my head, he sheepishly said, scratching his head. Look here boys, the demon thinks it can fight us with his little kunai, let's teach him how you use it, the drunk ninja said as he took out his own pair. Oh, this ain't for you, do you smell that? He asked, but he already knew they could not smell the gas because their senses were clouded with alcohol. It's time to cook the fox inside. His seal cringed at the lame one-liners. Enough talking, geez, let's just kill him already, an impatient drunk civilian shouted as he ran to punch Naruto in the face. But the amount of training he did, Naruto easily dodged and grabbed a civilian to act as a meat shield, surprising the mob with his fighting capability. He then threw the kunai straight to the gas tank, igniting an explosion that took anyone around the area. The force and heat also threw some at a distance, including Naruto, who suffered little injuries thanks to his meat shield. The explosion not only killed and injured some, but it also alarmed the whole neighborhood, causing people to flock to the place and try to discover what happened. For Naruto, he slowly lost consciousness thanks to the gas explosion, but it did not wipe out the smile on his face. Worth it? Few minutes later. Anba report. Here is in Saratobi, also known as the third Hokage, shouted to his subordinate after finally arriving the place of explosion. Then a purple-haired female with a Nico mask appeared next to the old Hokage, who gave a small look at the chaos behind her. It seems that a drunk mob tried to kill Naruto with a kunai but ended up causing an explosion with the gas tank, Hokage-sama. Shit, well, where is Naruto-kun, he sighed. I already took him to the hospital for treatment. Good work, Nico, the old man signed as he started to make his way to the hospital. Time to lie to a kid again and deal with the anger of the civilian council. Round up everything here and provide me with a printed report. Yes sir. She then vanished again with a body flicker. Just to. Hinata, you bastard, why did you leave me with this mess, he thought, taking out his tobacco to smoke. Heavy was the head that wear the hat. Hospital room 9A. A groan came out of his lips as he finally rubbed the sleep out of his eyes. He slowly opened his eyes as the bright light of the hospital room burned his eyes. God, I hate this room, he thought as he pushed himself up. Welcome to the land of the living, Naruto-kun, an old man with a grandfatherly smile said, looking at him fondly. Oh, hey Gigi, he sighed as he laid back on the bed, silently looking at the white ceiling. Are you okay? He asked him, hoping that he's at least fine with what happened. I really don't want to talk about it, you know, he replied, rolling around to face the wall. What sort of child would be okay with any of this? It's been a hard day for me, but I'm sure I will be back to normal when I get some rest, right, will of fire and all that, he continued as he wished to finish the talk fast with this bumbling old fool of a Hokage. Yeah, well, if you need anything just call me, the old man clenched his teeth in sadness. He hated himself that he could not help this kid much. The village was still sad about the Kyuubi attack and it needed a scapegoat. Naruto just seemed to be the better option. He already knew there was a special place in hell, ready for all the mistakes he kept making till now. Kushina would have killed him if she was still alive. He slowly got up of the chair and started to make his way to the exit door. He had to go for another council meeting and explain what happened. As if the old man would help him, they have already played this rodeo too many times, he just gave up. The old man just said the same thing every scenario like this until he finally got tired of it. It was just the same shit, different day, Naruto bitterly thought on his bed. Well, I guess I'm off now. The old man paused in his walk and looked at the empty corner of the room. Nico, look after him till further notice. Hi Hokage, Samish replied as he made his way out. Naruto heard the door finally close, signifying that the Hokage left the room, leaving him and the Nico Anbu alone in the hospital room. Naruto released the breath he was holding and comfortably sat up again. It seemed the Hokage didn't know what really happened. What now? He thought out loud, looking at the ceiling as he tried to think of what is really doing with his life. Was this really living all about? Was being fucked over again and again by people really what his life should be all about? He cold live on like this, with no parents, no friends, just an existence with no meaning. How was a kid like him supposed to survive in a hell like this? With no power, he bitterly looked at the flower vase on the bedstand, reflecting his face with the dark whisker mask, just another reminder of his life in summary. He clenched his fist tightly as flashbacks of his life played in his head over and over, again making him punch the vase in anger, smashing it. His fist bled from the small cuts caused by punching the vase, as his eyes glazed over with no emotions of pain or sorrow. Looking at the one of the broken pieces of the vase on the floor, he grabbed it and pointed the sharp end to his wrist, ready to cut his veins deep. Suicide has not been off his mind for quite some time, and deep inside him wished the previous blast had taken him too. As he was about to cut his wrist, a soft pale hand grabbed his wrist, tightly stopping him from continuing his plan. I can't allow you to do that, she said softly to him, hoping he won't go on with his plan. Why? He said as he looked at the white mask of the Nico female. The Hokage has entrusted me to look after you. And this matters to me. How? He said, snatching his wrist away from her. I'm just following orders. The Hokage would be sad if you killed yourself. You mean sad that he lost his weapon, he bitterly thought. He looked at her, seeing no hesitation in following the Hokage's orders. He knew she was miles ahead of him in power and could easily subdue him in his lame attempt of suicide. Even if he did manage to kill himself, the village would just celebrate about it. It would be one fucked up funeral. How willing are you going to follow his orders? She gave him a puzzled look at the question. With every breath, as it is my order, she answered with no hesitation. You must really respect the old man. Is the Hokage the leader, she answered swiftly. Hokage, that word, the title which gave you the power to rule over village, the power over thousands of ninjas to do anything for you, the type of power he needs to protect himself from this evil world, the type of power a person like him can't have with how weak he is. Only the strong were Hokages. He needed power, and lots of it. Nico, right? He asked with new enthusiasm in his voice. Yes, Naruto-san. Teach me how to use chakra, said with a small smirk. I can't do that, sorry Naruto-san. You don't understand, do you? The Hokage gave you the order to look after me, in other words taking care of me, and right now as part of taking care of me, help me train. I'm sure the Hokage didn't mean it like that, she still relented. Are you disobeying orders from your Hokage? He placed on. Then, Nosh blushed behind her mask. Then teach me caretaker. Truthfully she would have revoked him, but he was right in his little loophole, and she also felt that she needed to do something for this lost child of Konoha. Very well Naruto-san, I will teach you until the Hokage calls me back. Start now, time has never been dear to me, he said as he got ready to learn anything. He was going to train until he becomes strong enough to wear the hat of the Hokage, not to prove anything or gain respect, but to protect himself from the world and not the ungrateful fucks. He sounded selfish, but it's only right since he lived alone in this world with no one by his side. Well old man, you got your wish, I'm going to be Hokage one day, he grinned. He had a purpose now, an objective. First things first was to gain power, he will worry about the other things later. Nico raised her eyebrow behind her mask as she looked at different emotions run through the blonde's blue eyes. It would seem there was a new fire in his eyes, and not the will of fire kind. After the previous fiasco had come to pass, Naruto had received a number of gifts from some people he knew to congratulate him on turning 14. One of this presents was a frog wallet from Jiji. He sold it to get money for a new wallet. He got a box of new kunai and a tanto from an Anbu code named Weasel. He received a red scarf from some unknown person secret admiral it seemed, and finally new pairs of combat clothes from the Nico Anbu. 3 weeks had also passed by for Naruto as he focused solely on the training he received from the Nico Anbu. The type of training he got was Taijutsu and chakra exercise, such as wall walking and water walking. He was also getting some basic Kinjutsu training, as Nico was a sword expert, so she was not going to pass up the chance to teach swordsmanship to her cute student. This then leaves us on training ground 17, which seemed to have 2 people going against each other, kunai against kunai. One of them had long flowing purple hair and a slim but curvy female body, covered up in standard Anbu gear, while the other one was a bit shorter with bright blonde hair and spotted wearing a white shirt and some dark pants. This people of course were none other than Naruto Uzumaki and the Nico Anbu. But how the fight was going, it seemed that the clear winner was already Nico as Naruto had dirt and cuts covering his clothes, but even then, it showed that Naruto had improved well over the past week. As he thought over how well his teacher told him he improved, he felt his senses warn him of a kunai going for his head, but at the split second dodged it by ducking. He then had to raise his hands to block a right hand punch from Nico, which then pushed him a few steps back due to the strength she applied. Sadly she did not leave him time to recover and swept his legs causing him to fall on his back. All this happened in a span of seconds, leaving Naruto in the dirt. Time's up, you did well on your training today, Naruto-kun, she said as she grabbed his hand and helped him up. This was training? He asked with a confused eyebrow. The beating he just got was not one of his proudest moments. Don't be like that, she replied with a chuckle at the end. This will help you gain battle experience, Naruto. More like beating experience, I don't wanna be a bitch. Oh, he got punched on the head for the last comment. Language mister, she gave him a stern glare even though she was wearing a mask. Sorry. He confusedly replied as she started to brush the dirt of his hair. Same time tomorrow, okay? She said as she was about to start going home. Wait. Millimeters, I was wondering why you're still training me till now. I thought by now the old man Hokage would have relieved you off your duties. You know? He asked her with a puzzled look. She smiled at how cute he looked when he asked that question. Well, I volunteered to look after you. They may be some bad people who still want to harm you, right? She said as she made her way closer to Naruto and patted his head softly. Why are you helping me? It's my job as a ninja to take care of my future Hokage, right? This seemed to bring a smile on his cute face. Thank you for your care. He didn't really care about the real reason, as long as he was getting real training from an elite ninja, even if he gets to be punched down again and again. Hey? Yes, future Hokage-sama, she giggled as he got her attention again. A few seconds of silence passed by before perked up again. He cleared his throat. I really want to see the beautiful face of my teacher, you know, if it's not too much to ask, please, for your future Kage, he pleaded with a little hope. Nico seemed to mule of the thought in her head, but the puppy eyes from Naruto made her relent and slowly but surely took off her mask. After the mask was off, it showed a beautiful pale face with chocolate brown eyes, small nose and pink pale lips. You're really beautiful, Nico-chan, he complimented, which seemed to bring some red color on her pale cheeks. Thank you, she gently smiled at him. She knew she was breaking the law by doing this, but it was worth it to get a reaction from Naruto. There was just something about his presence that seemed to ease her. May I know the name of this beautiful lady? He gave her a cheesy smile which seemed to do the trick. Yugao Yuzuki, she offered her hand to him as a handshake which he gratefully took. Well, Yugao Yuzuki, meet the future Hokage Naruto fucking Uzumaki, he proclaimed loudly with his thumb jabbing his chest. His body seemed to be oozing with confidence, but it all went away when she knocked him on the head for the foul word. Right, Hokage-sama, she giggled. You have to understand that no one has to know about this though. I understand, I know how to keep a secret, Yugao-chan. "So, wanna grab a bite?" he asked as he forcefully grabbed her hand and started to let her outside the training. "Naruto-kun, I thought we just agreed that no one has to know that I revealed my identity to you." "I know that, but you're off duty at this time, right? You're not an Anbu at this time," he placed on as he gave her that same mischievous grin. "Maybe we should do something about what you're wearing first, lose the Anbu gear and wear something casual. Right now you're not the Anbu code named Nico, but a woman known as Yugao who bumped into a boy known as Naruto on her way home." "Right, we just met on my way home," she smiled at him, making him brighten up with a grin, the things she did for this boy. Few weeks later. Just like that, more time passed as Naruto continued to grow as a proper ninja. On top of that, the bond he forged with Yu-Gi-Oh had grown a lot and had started to converse more outside training. She also would cook bento boxes for him to eat after training, as she saw how his diet was not proper. Their bond seemed to be similar to a couple, but was more platonic. Even then, no one seemed to notice the new vibe rolling of Naruto, as he took every step with a spring. The Hokage had yet to find out he was getting training from the Nico Anbu, and seemed to not notice the new aura the Nico Anbu released every time she volunteered to look after Naruto Uzumaki. But as every good thing comes to an end, his training with Yugao was going to stop as his month-long holiday was coming to an end and had to start going back to school, the Shinobi Academy, the place he was going to be awarded the ninja title, just another wall he needs to climb to become Hokage. He made his way to the training ground and sat under a tree as he waited for his teacher to arrive. Looking at the blowing leaves, it was still midday with the bright sun rays blanketing the soft grass of Konoha, a calm before a storm some would say. That's what he thought when he looked at the trials he will face to become the Hokage. What were his plans from here on out? After they do training for the last time today, will they stop seeing each other? No. He was sure she treasured the moments they had together, he hoped. Hearing a thud, he looked up seeing Yugao with her Nico mask on looking down at him. "Hello Naruto-kun," she greeted as she took off her mask and sat down next to him. He nodded with a small smile as he admired her beautiful face. "The Hokage told me today is the last day for me to look after you, since you will be better looked after by the teachers at your school," she said sadly. "Oh, right, I already knew this won't last," he bitterly chuckled. "Naruto, just because I can't train you does not mean we can't see each other again. Remember, after duty I'm also a woman known as Yugao, which means we can still be together after my work hours." She brushed his hair, making him blush bashfully. "So wipe that sad look on your face and let's start training today. I wanna see how far you have come," she said, getting up. "You versus me, come at me with the intent to kill," she said coldly as she sheathed out her sword, which then made Naruto take out the tanto he had on his back. A few minutes of silence passed by as they both fixed their stance for the fight. "Begin" was the last word she said before launching herself at Naruto, who easily blocked the mid-attack with his tanto. He then pushed her back and did a mid-step spin for a downward slash which she easily stepped away. With Naruto now exposed, she round-horsed him in the face, but he poofed and got replaced with a log. She quickly checked her surroundings for Naruto, but found nothing but the grass and trees around the training ground. She suddenly felt the change of pressure above which made her raise her sword fast to block the downward slash from Naruto, forcing her to kneel and try to hold the attack. "I'm not yet Hokage for you to kneel for me," Yugao-chan grinned as he applied more strength to the stalemate. This seemed to make Yugao hiss in anger as she pushed back and kicked him in the chest, making him stumble backwards. This then gave her time to channel chakra to her sword and release a sharp blue slash which Naruto clumsily dodged by laying on the ground on his back, using the momentum from his previous stumble. He quickly got back up again and started to exchange blows with Yugao again, which went on for a few minutes before he realized that he was losing it. As Yugao went for his head again, he dodged and tried to sweep her legs, but she acted fast and back-flipped away. This gave Naruto the needed time to do some hand signs and release air bullets from his mouth. Wind style. Air bullets. The air bullets moved fast and hit Yugao mid-air, causing her to poof and got replaced with a log. This seemed to make Naruto widen his eyes and try to move away from his previous spot, but before he could jump away, he felt a cold blade touch his neck. "Heal," she said as she pushed her sword closer to his neck, which then made Naruto drop his tanto and slowly turn around. "It's your win," he smiled as he took a good look at Yugao, who also had her clothes torn off and small cuts on her body, thanks to the courtesy of the wind bullets. "I'm impressed with you Naruto-kun," she said as she took her sword back and sheathed it. "You managed to land an attack on an elite Anbu." "Yeah, well, you were not really using all your strength," he scratched his head while grinning. "Don't sell yourself short Naruto-kun, you have come a long way," she happily said with pride in her voice. She then grabbed his hand and started to lead him under the tree again. "Come here, let's treat your wounds now." After spending the whole day with Yugao just walking and talking together, they spent the remaining night hours at the Ichiraku ramen stand, which seemed to make the owners happy that their valuable customer is back. He then dropped Yugao at her house and went back home. With a quick shower, he quietly laid back in his bed thinking of what school will be like again. It just felt like forever he went there. He was sure that everything was the same as it was, the only difference was him now, and goddammit was he not going to be the dead last anymore. That's not how future Hokages rolled. He was a real prodigy, none of that Sasuke bullshit. He was going to kick the smug of that guy's face no matter what. Sasuke may have the Sharingan, so what, he had the most powerful beast inside him, and goddammit was he going to use it. Speaking of the devil, he thought it was high time he talked to the fox bastard and come to a deal. He set up in a meditation pose and started to meditate, trying to clear his mind. He started to call out the fox if he was listening. "Hello? Fox-kun." Nothing happened. "Can you hear me, you fuzzy bastard?" Still nothing. "Ring motherfucker," he called out again, but nothing happened. "Forget about it," he sighed. Giving up, he opened his eyes expecting to see his room, but found himself in a sewer. "Ah, fuck me," he silently said as he got up from the wet floor. "Now my ass is wet if I'm right, this must be my mindscape, what a dump." Not only did people say he was some hideous demon out, he had a sewer inside of him, ugly on the outside, and the inside he really fucking hated Kami for this. Regaining his bearings, he started making his way along the long dark tunnel with red and blue pipes. After a few minutes of walking, he found himself in a huge dark room with a huge cage, which seemed to go on forever. A large shadow then roamed behind the bars and slammed one of its paws on the bars, creating a metallic sound. "So is this little twat my jailer?" A gruff voice came from behind the cage bars. "Pitiful. Ayubi, I've come to make a bargain," he said as he stood fearlessly against the giant shadow behind the bars. "I will just kill you right now," it replied as large red orbs glowed with venom. Then a large maw with large razor-sharp teeth came out of the shadows. It released a warm breath which blew Naruto's clothes and hair back. "I have lived long enough to not fear death, Fox. I'm not here to fight," he bravely said, but felt his blood run cold. "Really, a child? Come closer, prove your will. Many have fallen against my presence, men stronger than you," it said as it fully revealed itself to Naruto. A humanoid upper body with large rabbit-like ears and orange fur was what made up this terrifying beast. It also had 9 stunning tails moving about mindlessly. Naruto slowly took a few steps closer to the cage and looked up at it. He would never lie to himself, he was not scared of death, but this thing, no, this demon made him sweat a little. He could feel his heart beat with every step he took closer to the cage. Gathering his nerves, he looked at the fox straight in the eye. "I've come to make a bargain." A small gruff laugh was what he heard before it laid down on its paws. "And pray tell, what can you offer me?" "Something better than freedom." This seemed to make Naruto grin as he already had what he was sure will make the fox help him. "Give me strength, help me attain the power to run this village, together we'll take over this fucked up world by storm. With me, no one will ever abuse the tailed beast. I will set you free when we have established our power, that's my promise to you," he said with enthusiasm laced in his voice. "Humanity is greedy, how can I believe you? A child. What else can I hide from you? We are already in my head, there is nothing for me hide here." This seemed to put the beast in silence. "Very well, Uzumaki, I will teach you my power. I still don't believe you, but I want to see you prove me wrong," it said as it presented its paw to Naruto to fist bump. Naruto slowly but surely touched the offered paw and suddenly felt power course through his body. "I've established a proper connection with you, now buzz off," it said as it pushed him out of his mindscape rudely. Outside the real world, Naruto snapped his eyes in shock and fell down on his bed. "Fucking fox," he growled in pain as he tried to get up. "I heard that, you little twat," Kyuubi's voice came out from his head. "Holy shit, is that you, Fox?" he asked around frantically. "I'm in your head, Migot, the connection is working," it replied. "Oh, that's good I guess, I'm not going to regret this, am I?" he asked aloud, feeling a little regret. All he received in kind was a deep chuckle. A deep cough came out from the Kyuubi as it cleared its throat. It then took in a deep breath, rising its chest high ready for a loud roar or shout. "Bukajidaju." It roared with might as Naruto bolted out of his bed like a frog with his eyes wide as a cat's. What? He looked around frantically until he heard a deep laugh inside his head, his eye twitched menacingly. "What the hell, Fox?" he cried out in anger. "It's morning, wake up," it replied in goodwill. Naruto looked outside the window and then his clock, he then pinched his nose with a sigh. "It's 4 a.m. he growled as he grabbed his pillow and threw it on the wall in anger. "Early bird gets the worm. Even the birds ain't fucking awake," he grumbled as he then started to put on his jumpsuit. No use in crying now, his body was now wide awake, so taking a light morning jog was the best option, then he can prepare for class after some hours. Grabbing the door handle, he tried to open it but ended up taking out the whole door out. "What the fuck?" His eyes widened in shock. Was the door always this weak? "No, you stupid twat, haven't you noticed your body change?" Kyuubi's gruff voice said in his head. "What did you do to me?" he said with panic in his voice as he started to check his body for deformations. It's just your young body adjusting to the new power input, it's getting a little tougher and bigger to contain it all. Now that you mentioned it, my jumpsuit does feel a little tighter, he said as he finally observed himself. I got an inch taller, it's nice I'm finally taller than Sasuke, pride oozed in his voice. Well, you're still admiring how bigger dick you have than the Uchiha. I advise you to try and adjust your new strength this morning before you accidentally kill some kid at your god-awful school. Right. Line break. After a bath and a light breakfast, he made his way to the Shinobi Academy wearing a unzipped black jacket with red, orange trims and some dark pants. He also wore a white shirt under the jacket, the shirt had an orange Uzumaki spiral on the chest area. He tucked his hands in his pants pocket as he strolled his way into the school compound. The students didn't seem to recognize him for a good part of minutes. He couldn't blame them though, his body had built up well and had let his hair grow long, framing his eyes a little. He also got rid of the orange jumpsuits and favored wearing what he bought after saving some money. Yugao's gift was also his favorite pick. Reaching the closed door to his class, he paused as he thought on whether he should enter now or not. His classmates were not the most understanding and were annoying. Kids could be brutal on an orphan like him. Oh hey Naruto, almost didn't recognize you there, a middle-aged man with a scar across his nose greeted him warmly. Hey Iruka, long time no see, he greeted back to the man who opened the door for him. Come on, get in, he gestured with his hand for him to enter the class. Nobody's here yet, didn't see you as an early person Naruto, I hope it's not a one-time thing, he laughed heartily. It's not, if I'm going to be the new Hokage I have to take things seriously from now on, he replied as he started to make his way to the student sits. Well, don't grow up too fast now, you're still young. This seemed to make Naruto laugh. People like me don't have that luxury, Iruka-sensei. This made Iruka frown. Without another word of response, Naruto chose to sit at the far back corner. He silently took out a book from his bag and started to study. Iruka sighed as he went out of the class to get some materials for teaching. Naruto relaxed in his chair as he watched Iruka go out the door from the corner of his eyes. He didn't really know what to think of Iruka. He was a good person, but sadly that didn't transfer to his teaching skills. He was bad at it. Few minutes later. As more time passed, the class started to get filled with more students. Some of the more notable ones were Hinata, Dog Breath, Shikamaru, Fatfic and of course the gay lord himself, Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto didn't bother more to take notice of who was coming in anymore and silently continued to read. The class seemed to get more lively as more people started to chat happily after not seeing each other much on the past holiday. They all seemed to suddenly stop after hearing high-pitched screams and the door busting open as two notable fangirls of Sasuke crashed inside. I'm here first, Ino Pig, I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun, the pink-haired girl screamed in joy as the student seemed to cringe. Nah, I was first, Billboard, the blonde girl replied as she quickly made her way to sit with Sasuke. This didn't seem to make Sakura happy, she quickly pushed Ino to the floor hard and sat next to Sasuke. I win, Ino Pig, she fist-pumped in triumph. Ino slowly got up, rubbing her bruise in pain. I guess it's your win, Sakura, I will just sit on the other side of Sasuke-kun. She sat next to him, a little sad with Sakura's action. Cough, Kunoichi of the year, cough, someone said amongst the students behind. Sasuke didn't seem to care whatever was happening around him and preferred to just stare at the blackboard blankly. Troublesome, Shikamaru silently said as he went back to sleep after realizing the drama was done. The other students slowly went back to their conversations as they didn't want to comment anything involving the Sasuke incident or risk getting trashed by his fans. As things started to go back to normal, Kiba and his friends seemed to finally notice Naruto's existence at the far corner reading a book. Oh, look what we have here, guys, the dead last is actually taking his studies seriously. They both laughed as they tried to agitate Naruto. Naruto didn't seem to notice them and continued to read his book. This made Kiba furious as he snatched the book he was reading and stumped on it. You should listen when your betters are talking, loser, he said, angry, his underlings agreeing. Betters? Naruto said silently as he got up facing Kiba. All I see is a little girl and his little whores bitching about, he gestured behind Kiba. Jennifer, right. Why don't you and your friends go do makeup? The whole class seemed to widen as they waited for Kiba's response. Even Sasuke seemed to gaze at the situation in interest. This didn't seem to appease Kiba and his band of misfits, so with anger they cornered Naruto around. Then Kiba surprising punched Naruto in the face, but his face did not recoil back as he was expecting. Kiba felt his hand sting from the punch as he tried to act normal. The whole class got up in interest, salivating at what was happening, not so more than Ino, who found something to gossip about again. Sakura, on the other hand, shouted in greed for Kiba to kick the loser. Shikamaru felt sorry for the blonde kid, but was not going to get up for someone who he was not friends with. Kids are troublesome, he whispered as he watched on. Hinata felt her heart cringe as she thought of helping her crush. Her heart sunk as she realized she could not help him with how weak she was in strength and in character. Naruto-kun, I'm sorry, she looked down in sadness, angry at herself. Remember, Naruto finally started to say as he rubbed his cheek. You did this to yourself. He immediately punched one of Kiba's goons, knocking him out. He then grabbed another and slammed him on the desk, breaking his nose and crying out in pain. This seemed to finally register on what was happening by Kiba and his two remaining goons. They were however slow to react as Naruto Spartan kicked one of them down to sits. The remaining goon tried to punch Naruto, who dodged and choke slammed him on the floor. He immediately punched the poor guy relentlessly until he fell unconscious. Kiba stood frozen with fear as he couldn't believe what just happened. He didn't remember the dead last being able to fight back against his gang in the past. He stood petrified as he watched Naruto wipe the blood of his knuckles, using the knocked out guy's shirt. Kiba, Naruto stood up as he dusted his jacket. I'm going to break your pride and your arms. I'm going to murder your whole career as you have tried to make mine a living hell. Many of the students stepped away from the commotion as they didn't want to be at the receiving end of what was happening. Things had turned for the worst as the silent kid finally snapped. The only one who was still calm was Shikamaru and Shino as they continued to analyze the situation with interest. They also noticed how Naruto's words of destroying Kiba's life had not been said aimlessly. Kiba finally felt his legs again and immediately turned around to escape. This made Naruto to execute a shunshin and appear in front of Kiba, who bumped into his chest and fell down on his ass. Kiba, don't try to run. I'm just going to teach you a simple lesson, a lesson you will learn well like a whisper, he said silently as his eyes flickered from blue to red. This seemed to finally break Kiba's mind and he pissed right on the spot. Shit, now I feel sorry for you, I will just knock you out as a favor. Naruto raised his fist and was about to punch Kiba until someone appeared and grabbed his punch. I think Kiba has had enough, right Naruto, Haruka said seriously. Yeah, he replied as he took his fist from Haruka's hand with force. Good, fighting is not allowed in class, but only on the field. Naruto, you will report for detention. Kiba, go change, he ordered as he made his way to the teacher's sit. Naruto stood silently for a few seconds and then made his way to his sit. Kiba gingerly stood up as his friends helped each other up. Kiba, I hold a grudge like bad judges, don't make me resent you, pray we never be paired against each other in a fight, I will destroy you, was the last words Kiba heard as he made his way out. Everyone seemed to have conflicting thoughts of what just happened, but none dared to say a word. Some were amazed, some scared, and others just didn't know what to feel. The only one who didn't share the same emotions was Sasuke. He clenched his teeth in anger as he saw Naruto easily dispatch Kiba and his goons. How can a dead last like Naruto be that skilled? The elite already had trouble taking down Kiba in fights, but this idiot blonde was able to easily do what he could not. He was not going to let this down. Line break. As the last period of class ended, Naruto didn't waste time to stay and instead made his way to training ground. He didn't report for detention as he found it meaningless and the teachers didn't really have anyone to report him to. On his way to the training ground, he noticed someone trailing him, taking a quick corner. He waited for the stalker to pass, which he then grabbed the person. Hinata, he shouted in surprise. Nah, Naruto-kun. Her eyes widened in shock, she was not expecting to get caught. What are you doing here, he smirked as he gently let her go. I was. Her face turned red and she fainted on the spot, the pressure was just too much for her. Naruto's sweat dropped at the reaction, he should probably take her with him before someone thinks he's kidnapping a girl, a Hyuga at that, placing her on his back, he pigbagged her all the way to the training ground. Landing on the soft ground of training ground 14, he laid Hinata under the tree he used to sit on after training with Yugao in the past. Naruto, the Kyuubi, growled from his mind. What now? He sighed as whatever the Kyuubi wanted to say was usually an insult to him or something just weird. This Hyuga girl would do well for your plans. Elaborate. She is the heir, is she not? With her by your side, she will vote for you to become Hokage when she is the leader of her clan in the future. Fuck, I forgot about getting the votes from clan heads, I just thought getting unfathomable power will do it, might makes right. Well, unless you plan to kill your way to the sit, then sure, gaining the support from the clans will be far much better in a long run, you will have royal powerful people at your call, the Kyuubi finished. Didn't take you for politics, Fox, but I guess you're right, though it really sounds hard. His head dropped in grief as a rain cloud hovered on his head. What are you talking about? You're good with your words, I'm sure it will be a breeze for you. I don't know, he scratched his head. You have convinced me, have you not? That's proof enough your talk no just do works. Why, what? He deadpanned, the fox just ignored him and went back to sleep. Sighing, Naruto checked over Hinata to make sure she was okay. He brushed some strands of hair off her face as he admired her beauty. Hinata must have been an early bloomer with what she was packing under her clothes, he noticed. He heard a soft groan as she started to rub her eyes like a cat and woke up. Slept well? He asked with a raised eyebrow. Nah, Naruto-kun, your hairish panicked as she realized that all that happened was real, she was so embarrassed. Hinata, if you faint again I'm going to leave you here, he said blankly. So, sorry, she panicked again but gripped her hood as she tried to calm down, she didn't want to lose her chance to meet her crush. Don't talk, just try to calm down, he said as he got up and went on the clearing. Now get up, we are going to have a match, he said as he raised his fist. Hinata's eyes widened in shock at what Naruto proposed. I don't think I can fight you, Naruto-kun, she looked down as she gripped her hands. Am weak. I told you no talking, just get into your fighting pose, he pressed on, making Hinata weakly raise her palms as she tried to come to terms with what was happening. He slowly made his way to her, making her step back. Hinata, I'm going to throw a punch at you, if you don't block this punch I'm going away from here, he approached her and then released a sloppy slow punch at her shoulder which she blocked with her eyes closed. Good, try to block this, he smiled as he threw another sloppy punch at her stomach, making her take a step back to avoid it. You're getting good at this. She blushed but had to avoid another punch which she deflected with her palm. This seemed to make Naruto execute combos at her, which she easily blocked again. This pattern continued as Naruto increased his speed, making the Hyuga girl subconsciously start to get into the fight more. This went on for a few minutes until Hinata deflected another punch and palmed Naruto on the chest, making him take a step back. Hinata widened her eyes in surprise at what she had done, she didn't mean to do this, but it all happened on instinct. Good work, Hinata, you're really strong, tomorrow we will do this again, and this time whoever wins will get a favor from the other, he grinned at her. Hinata seemed to still be shocked, but heard what he said. He sighed again at her and turned around. Well, I should be going now, I'm going to get some ramen, see you tomorrow, he jumped away vanishing in the trees. This seemed to break Hinata out of her trance and blinked, she was feeling bad that she may have hurt Naruto, but he seemed to not really care about it, she then replayed what he told her before leaving, making her blush. She was going to meet her crush again tomorrow and spend some time with him again, they were going to fight, but whoever won was going to gain a favor from the other, this seemed to make her smile as she started to make her way home. She was going to try and gain a favor from him and maybe they would go on a date together, this seemed to bring a small smile to her face, she had to get ready for tomorrow. Saying bye to AM after putting money on the counter, he started to make his way back home, he had sent a message to the Hokage in the morning that his door was broken and was hoping by now the old man had fixed it for him. He went up the apartment to his room finding a team of genin fixing his door. Next to them was a man with a bowl-cut hairstyle and wearing a green spandex suit with a jounin jacket over it to show that he was their sensei. The students were comprised of a mini version of the spandex man, a Hyuga male and a pretty girl with brown hair and two buns and chocolate brown eyes. "Aye, sensei. We finished fixing the door," the spandex kid shouted in joy as he fist pumped in the air. "Very well done, Lee. Another D-rank mission finished, our frames of youth will shine like the sun." He gave his students a shining grin and a thumbs up. "It's just a door," Sensei Tenten signed in defeat as she sealed the tools she had used to fix the broken door. "This missions are beneath me," Niji grumbled with hate. "A mission is a mission, Niji," she rolled her eyes with a soft smile, she then heard someone approach them across the hallway, it was the regular blonde head who comes at her father's shop to buy weapons. "Oh hey Naruto," she greeted him with her teammates following apart from Niji. "Hey guys, thanks for fixing my door. We can't refuse a mission from the Hokage," guy replied while giving a thumbs up for his appreciation. "Right, how you been Tenten?" He gave his attention to the female of the group. "The usual weirdness with Guy Sensei and Lee," she sighed, making Naruto chuckle. She then took a good look at Naruto finding him a little different. "I see your training has been paying off," she blushed as she unconsciously touched his chest. Indeed, he gave her his charming grin. "Anyway, it's time for us to report back to the Hokage," Guy said as he and his team started to make their way out. "See you again, Naruto-san," she waved away as she followed her team. "That was weird," he scratched his head in confusion, his eyes following Tenten as she made her way out, her bike shorts not hiding her curvy figure and nice ass. He coughed as he took away his attention from Tenten's ass, since when did he have perverted thoughts? Weird. "Your puberty won't be kind to you, it's going to be harsh with you, due to the power inside you now," Kaiba's voice ringed in his head. "What do you mean?" He opened his door getting in. "You will see," it laughed darkly as it retreated into the dark shadows of its cage. He was going to get entertained this coming days, the fox could not wait. "Who bleep CK me," the blonde cursed. Line break. After another mission well done, she parked up her Anbu uniform in her locker room with a click. "Oh hey Yugao-san," a gruff voice introduced itself as a man came into the room. "Hey Genma-san," she returned the same courtesy with her soft smile. "Sue, how was your mission?" She froze a little at the question as it seemed to make her have flashbacks of what she had to do when she was out on duty. Genma also seemed to notice it, giving her his sympathy. "Like you wanna just drink until you swallow all the pain and regret," she responded looking at the lights attached on the ceiling. "You wanna talk about it? You know, over a drink," he laughed at the end. "I appreciate the offer, Genma-san, I just wanna go sleep." "Right. I forgot it's already late. He subconsciously kicked himself in the nuts. Yeah, I better go now, good night Genma-san. She quietly passed him, making her way to the exit. Oh, Yugao-san. She hummed, looking back at him with a raised eyebrow. Say hello to Anko and Kurenai for me, he said, since the women lived together as some form of sister bond. Will do was the last words before she vanished into the night of Konoha. She traveled with pace, using the rooftops with only one destination in mind, and no, it was not back to her joint house, but a certain blonde head. She discovered that whenever she had dark thoughts and memories in her mind, the only person who made her completely forget and only have positive energy around was Naruto. Don't get her wrong, her sisters helped her to cope with the depression that came with Anbu work, but her depression and stress was magically gone whenever he was near her. It was also part of the reason she never really gave a chance to Genma. He was a good man, but he was not Naruto. Naruto stole her heart, and the only person she could share it with was her sisters, all but in blood. She silently opened Naruto's window and entered his room, finding him asleep on the bed, the moon bathing his hair with light as if he was some prince-to-be. She removed her ninja sandals and started to move quietly, making sure she did not wake him up. Hey, a soft voice escaped his mouth as he mischievously looked at her with his deep blue eyes. Sorry, I didn't want to wake you up, Naruto-kun, she said as Naruto grabbed and lifted the corner of the blanket for her to enter. It's okay, you didn't tell me you were visiting today. I'm just coming from a mission and wanted to just forget about it. Oh, he responded as she relaxed in his embrace. A few seconds of silence passed between them as the night sound sang its tune. Yugao. He brushed the top of her head softly with his hand. Your pale skin looks beautiful in the moonlight, you know. Shut up. Line break. Morning. The singing of the birds made Naruto flatter his eyes as he woke up from his sleep. Yugao still seemed to be asleep and was not going to wake up anytime soon. He tried moving up but felt sudden jolts of pressure move up his brain from his member. He widened his eyes as he found his dick erect and between Yugao's thighs. Fuck, is this the dreaded morning wood, he thought as his mind raced, trying to figure a way out of his predicament. Look at that, the massive chakra is already working, Kyuubi's voice chimed in as it laughed at the end. Fuck off, fuzzy face, he grumbled, slowly lifting himself up not to wake her up. His dick brushed against her nether regions, making her moan in her sleep. His eyes widened at the act and stealthily like a professional quickly dashed to the bathroom. Sweet ice cold shower. You have to find someone to help you with your situation, your hormones are getting boosted by our growing chakra. Shut up, how long will this last? Well, until your body is at least stable, 3-4 years. This is going to be troublesome, he signed. Line break. Ninja Academy. It was already reaching knocking off time and Naruto spent the whole day ignoring the lessons and focused on how he will get the clan heads under him. He planned to get information on all the heirs of the clans so that he can formulate a way to gain favor. Sadly though, he was not in the social circle to gain much information on them. His eyes wandered off watching his classmates go out of the class, chatting aimlessly with their friends without a care in the world. He then watched as Sakura ditched her friend. Was it the blonde girl, as she chased after the Uchiha kid? He could see that she was a little sad as she packed her school books in her purple bag. No need to wonder why she was gloom about. The aggressiveness of the pink girl was something not everybody would want to deal with every day. He continued to observe her until several ideas came in his mind, making him smirk. He will salvage this opportunity. Another man's trash was another man's treasure. Ino zipped up her bag and carried it on her shoulders. She started to make her way out the exit, but had to stop mid-step when she heard someone calling her. She turned her head and immediately blushed as she looked at her male counterpart. Over the weeks at school, she had noticed that the infamous blonde head had changed a lot. He looked more taller and fit than he was last school term. He was also wearing more fashionable clothes than the ugly orange jumpsuit he used to wear. She also had noticed that he was doing far well in school than he used to back then. This made her have some form of respect for the blonde boy and she was also a little scared of him after witnessing him trash Kiba, who was a good fighter, and his friends around like he was playing ball. Deep down, if Sasuke wasn't around, she would have loved to go for him as he looked handsome with his inviting smile which led to trouble and mischief. Sasuke had this emotionless look which didn't care about others, while Naruto had this bad boy look which told you to join me and we can fuck up the world together. He was a rebel, the type your parents told you to not date. You know, right? He offered her his handshake which she hesitantly took. Yeah. Nice to meet you, Uzumaki Naruto, he gave her his charming smile. I know, you're kind of well known here. Was wondering if you could offer me your time, I have something to ask of you. She wanted to decline, but on the other hand she was curious, so she accepted. She followed him behind the school where no one was around. You know, I have an offer and I hope you can hear me out, he gave her that same mischievous smile. Oh, okay, was he going to ask her help in dating Sakura? It's no secret that you want to date Sasuke, right? Yeah? She raised her eyebrow. But it's been 2 years and you have not made progress, on top of that you have massive competition from other girls and of course your best friend. Where are you going with this? She huffed at him for pointing out her failures. I can help you gain progress by cutting out the competition and gaining a favor from Sasuke from a bet. This made Ino surprised at the offer, and even if she hated to admit it, Naruto's offer sounded interesting. And how would you gain a favor from Sasuke-kun? She gave him a sly smile. I think we both know I'm one of the best fighters at school this year, Ino. All I have to do is make him accept a bet from me. If I win, I will use the favor to make him go on a date with you. If I lose, you will get to see your crush kick my ass. This seemed to make her smile. Very well, Uzumaki, what do I have to offer you? She put her hand on her waist waiting for what she had to do for him. This made Naruto smile. Good, everything was going as planned. I have no experience with girls and was hoping you could help me. He scratched his head bashfully, making Ino sweat drop. Oh, this made her to chuckle. What do you need? Well, I was hoping you could teach me how to kiss. He was going to start with the small stuff, then build up like some marriage game, had to fill the bar slowly. She blushed as she was ready to smack him on the head for his lewd idea. Naruto quickly put his arm on the opposite wall, closing any escape from Ino. She was trapped between his arms. Please Ino, it's just a simple kiss, besides I'm sure Sasuke does not want some prude inexperienced girls who won't be able to satisfy him. We both could gain some experience from this. This seemed to calm down Ino as she processed the idea. And how would you know that Sasuke-kun wants some experienced girl? She was still blushing while looking down. It was the only way to hide her face as Naruto was really close. Deep down this bad boy exterior of Naruto made her more accepting of Naruto's words. If you know what you want, take it. I know because I'm a guy. Fine, but close your eyes, okay? She glared at him in the eye as she was still that confident. Ino. I'm not an easy girl, Uzumaki, you should do well to understand that. That's what makes you more beautiful, Ino-chan, he whispered back as he closed his eyes. Shut up, she heavily blushed again. She then softly peeked him on the lips and looked down shyly, blood going to her face with a full-blown blush. There. That's it. I was expecting more, like the movies. He was pushing it a little, but he didn't like the kiss, he needed more. Goddamned, his hormones well acting up. What? She glared at him. I thought you were more daring and better at this stuff. I guess I will just ask Sakura for help. What can you say? He was a jackass. Shut up, Uzumaki. If you're so good, why don't you show me? Right? No, she just wanted to show him she was the better than the other girls. Gladly he wasted no time locking lips with her and started to softly lick and suck her bottom lip. Ino moaned at the sudden pleasure she got from the kiss. "Sue, how was it?" he smugly said after finishing the kiss. That was nothing, this is how you do it." She grabbed his head again and kissed him again. This time she shoved her tongue in his mouth, now turning into a heavy French kiss. "That's how you do it," she said confidently, but the heavy blush could say otherwise. Naruto was also not different, as his face was also red, as his lips were a little swollen with how hard she was sucking his lips. Wow, that was okay. This made Ino narrow her eyes. He locked lips with her again. This time she showed no signs of resistance as she started to grab and rub his blonde hair, making him close all the space they had between them. Their tongues danced and fought each other as her toes curled from the pleasure, making her forget what breathing was. He squeezed her body like telling her the only place she was supposed to be was in his arms until he grabbed her ass, making her hitch her breath. She pushed him back, breaking the intense kiss they had, making him widen his eyes. "Oh, sorry about that." His hormones were acting up again. "Shoo, shut up, you better hold your end of the deal or I will kill you 100 times. I never break my word, Ino-san." He nodded his head, locking eyes with her to show her he won't back out or cheat her. "Good, if you do I expect to see you again and see if you are improving in your kiss." She stumbled on her words, but Naruto nodded again to show her he understood. Right, see you again, Naruto-kun." She didn't wait for his response as she dashed away to save herself from the embarrassment. "Well, that went well than I expected." He laid on the soft grass, not believing his luck. "You tell me. Now I should probably work on getting Ino on my side to help me get information on the other future clan heads and maybe help me on my little problem." He glared at the tent pitched in his pants. "Tsu," from Uzumaki to Naruto-kun. Line break. As some days went by, Naruto continued on helping Hinata gain more confidence at the training ground while also helping Ino on her mission to get Sasuke. He would prank the fangirls by either making them dress like idiots or dropping paint on them so that they are shy to approach Sasuke with how they look. This helped cut down the number of girls around Sasuke, which usually only left Ino and Sakura to go after Sasuke. He didn't have to worry about losing Ino because Sasuke ignored the girls. Thank God he was gay. He had also yet to fight against Sasuke because Iruka banned any fights at school and could only wait for when all students are called to fight and be examined on their progress. A relationship between him and Ino had also progressed, as she now allowed him to fondle her breast and ass when they're kissing behind the school with nobody suspecting a thing. He also told her about his dream of becoming Hokage and his plans of become one. She told him that she will help him get information on the heirs of the clan, with her gaining more favors from him. He accepted but just hoped he didn't regret it. Thanks for watching.